Hello and welcome to Dog Show Mentor Live. I'm Lee Whittier, founder, host, and mentor. I'm here today with Richard Paquette. Hi, Richard.
How are you, Lee?
Welcome back.
Yes, it's been a while.
We're going to have some fun today. We're going to have fun talking about terriers because, of course, October is Terrier Month. Last week we had Bruce Schwartz, president of Montgomery County Kennel Club, and he talked to us a little bit about what it is, why it's important, and why everyone should come regardless of whether they own a terrier or not. And I've been going for a number of years, but not as many as you, Richard.
Yes, it's been quite a while of going to Montgomery, and for all of you people out there that are terrier enthusiasts and have never gone to Montgomery, you need to put it on your bucket list. You need to change all your plans for the weekend and head to Montgomery because it is the terrier show. It's the only show in the USA that is, for terrier breeds only, that it has the status of an all-breed show. It has that much prominence. So, yes, terrier breeders. Unbelievable.
I think there are 1,308 dogs entered this year. That's quite a good entry. And so if you're here today and you are headed to Montgomery County Kennel Club, please put your name in the chat and what your breed is and when you expect to get there. If you're driving, please be careful. Use your voice-activated system in your car to text us and let us know that you're here. And if you don't have a terrier, please tell us what your breed is, where you're from, and why you don't have a terrier, right? Why don't you? Okay.
Exactly. I mean, you know that I'm more known for Shih Tzu, which have an outstanding personality, but there's nothing like the fire of a terrier, the gamemanship, the spirit, the energy. It's just there's such a beautiful breed to watch just out in the yard, how they're so inquisitive and getting up on their toes at every little thing that moves. And any of our exhibitors of terriers out there need to show their dogs in that same fashion. Keep them way up and up on their toes, wanting to look at anything. And I think even as a judge, sometimes I'll be judging a terrier and he'll go halfway down the down and back and he'll stop and focus on something, and the exhibitors try to pull him out of that. Let him stand there for 10 seconds and then continue along your merry way, because the vision that I see as a judge is just wow, that outstanding energetic dog ready for the fight. And so take advantage of that. You've got too many people are in a hurry in the ring, and when their dog does all of a sudden stop and look at something and be right up on his toes, give it 5 seconds so the judge can actually see that. Don't try and drag him to the end of the down and back. Take advantage of when your dog outperforms.
A really good point, Richard, and I feel exactly the same way. Tracy Roach from Colorado is here, and she has Cairn Terriers. Tracy, are you on your way to Montgomery County? And Michael has Amstaffs and Tibetan Spaniels, and he is on his way to Montgomery County. And I think a lot of our audience is on their way to Montgomery County. I'm not seeing a lot of activity here. So if you are listening, please tell us who you are, where you're from, and if you are going to Montgomery County. So we're here today to talk about the Welsh, the Wire, and the Lakeland. We're going to talk about three breed standards. Richard is, of course, a longtime Lakeland breeder and very successful, considered a terrier expert as well as a toy expert. He is an all-breed judge, as you know, from Canada, and it's probably getting a little cool up in Canada. I see that Carolyn just got back from Pennsylvania. Anna, hi Anna from Ontario. She has Australian Shepherds and Irish Setters. I guess you're not going to Montgomery County. And of course, Todd has Boston Terriers in Washington, and Gordon You are welcome. We are really excited about um, this Facebook Live, so we better get started. Richard, you were talking about comparisons and comparing the different aspects of these three breeds. So, what comes to mind when you first think of the similarities and the differences of these three breeds, the Wire, the Welsh, and the Lakeland?
Well, my first impressions always of, when you look at some of the dogs we've observed at Montgomery over the years, is that elegant wire in the ring with just the right amount of substance and bone, and that beautiful short body and that amazing elegant look. So you got to get that balance between substance and elegance in the wire. Then I look at the Lakeland Terrier, which is another one of my breeds, and yes, they are a narrowly built hunter also, but not as elegant as the wire. And then you get the Welsh, who just built, so solid with that strong muscular neck, compared to the other two breeds, and beautiful compact bodies and beautiful bone and substance. They're just so amazing to watch. And you have to get to Montgomery because the judges there are all breed experts. They bring out the best in the dogs. So when you're standing ringside, it's a show in itself just to watch, as they bring out a couple of Welsh to look at each other, or a couple of Wires, or a couple of Lakeys. So yes, that is the place to be, Montgomery.
Yeah. So, and that Welsh is robust. When you think of the Lakeland is relatively narrow, but the Welsh is a robust dog in all ways. Never cloddy, but nevertheless robust with that strong rectangular head.
Another consistent thing is the bites. Terriers all must have strong, punishing bites. And as a judge, I fault weak bites when I do see them. And for you people that are not involved in terriers, when you open the mouth of a terrier, wow, you're seeing big dog teeth. And that is another important component of the terriers. They needed to have good bites and strong, square muzzles, and not this tapered look on the three breeds that we're talking about today.
The Wire and also the Smooth, but they have different standards, slightly different standards, and we could have done a comparison of the Wire and the Smooth standard. It was a number of years ago that they split off, but they have a very specific head length stated in the standard, 7 inches to 7.25 inches. The other standards don't have that very specific, but I have an 8-inch span from here to here, so I know pretty much, if I do that, how long the head is without bringing out a calipers.
Yeah, and a little slight different nuance in all the three of the breeds that we're talking about today is how those ears, actually how far above the skull they fold, and the Wire probably highest of them all, and the Lakeland sometimes, that fold, the ear pointing more towards the cheek than forward, as you do have in the others, and nothing more exciting to see those fiery eyes. And they all have that the Wire a little bit more rounded than the other two breeds, but they have that dark eye that you can see their personality right in their eyes. It's so exciting to watch them up close.
It is. um the Welsh Terrier, um the ear is it's described as being just above the top line of the skull, right?
Mhm.
um and it points towards the outside corner of the eye.
Yeah, and the Wire is, well above the level of the skull. So,
Right.
they do have a much higher ear, and also that distinctive tail. whenever I'm judging a terrier, if they don't have a tail, they're not winning, because you have to carry your tail.
Yep.
As you know, a good terrier should. And you know, that's a very important, you know, that whole general appearance, that whole look of the dog, all put together with his, you know, beautiful head carriage and proud, you know, look, and that tail balancing out the whole look. And
Yeah.
I know in the last decades or so, we've been moving towards a longer, more natural tail in a lot of the terrier breeds, including the Wires, Lakeys, and Welsh. Oftentimes before, they were 1/3 docked, and now they're almost no dock. So
Well,
you do see a little more tail on the dogs in the
yeah,
last decade.
it's interesting because a lot of them were docked at the height of the head, so it was really balanced. And now, but even what I've noticed, interestingly enough, is that a lot of the natural tails aren't that much longer. They're
Mm-hmm.
not waving, they're not flapping. They are longer, but not by that much.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be interested to see as time goes on, you know, in the border terrier, which I'll just sort of diverge here. You know, clever breeders breed for that short tail, short natural tail. Um, and it'll be interesting to see if clever breeders of these other terrier breeds do that as well. And we've
Mm-hmm.
got here today
And
Brian Leonard. Hi, Brian. Let me just say hello to a few people.
we
Um,
have Carla from Campbell from Victoria, BC, who has her very first Lakeland ever, and it is her goal to be at Montgomery next year watching. And I hope to see you there next year, Carla. And yes, it is a treat. And join the Lakeland Terrier Club of America. They have an amazing weekend program, and you will be welcomed with open arms and be able to hobnob with all the top Lakey breeders in America.
so, and we've got Todd from Halifax, Canada. Welcome, Todd. Next year, everybody's next year. Susie, hi, Susie from California with a Tibetan Terrier, the alternative terrier, as I call it. And Stacy from Maryland. My 12-year-old daughter and I are going to our very first Montgomery with a standard colored bull terrier in breed and juniors. Fantastic, Stacy. And Gordon says he's sporting dogs here, but love terriers, and we get our Russell next week. The Russell
Ooh.
seems to be a popular second breed for a lot of people.
It is. I mean, their overall size is just amazing. And when you get a properly built Russell in your ring, they are so exciting.
They are.
Again, very energetic and expressive, and again, up on their toes, ready for the fight. And just a beautiful breed.
I agree. We've got a few Canadians here. We have Patricia from Cornwall, Ontario, Ebony Lane, and Bridget replying to Carla Campbell. Hi, so nice to have people here who know each other. And Nikki's here with she has Cairn Terriers, and Nikki is, I know, on her way to Montgomery County. Hi, Anita. Welcome back to you. And Bridget says, unfortunately, first time I'm missing it as I have COVID. Oh, Bridget, get well soon.
So let's talk a little bit about that terrier movement. And you know, you hear so many people describe that terrier front. And
Right.
you know, for these long-legged terriers we're talking about today, yes, they do have a pendulum movement where the legs move straight ahead. Okay. And it's just beautiful to watch them cover ground with that powerful drive in the rear. Now, those fronts have to be built properly because they're absorbing almost 60% of the weight when the dog is going around the ring. So good terrier construction with straight front legs. Most of these the three breeds we're talking about today do have well laid back shoulders, and they should have good reach in the front, but a powerful drive in the rear. And nothing more exciting to see that balance of movement where the front is performing properly to be in balance with that powerful rear drive on the terrier. And a lot of people say, well, you know, poodles have style, Shih Tzu have style. Terriers have style going
Yes,
around
they
the ring.
do.
If they don't have that beautiful, powerful movement and that you know, that old English man walk of the handler, just balancing the movement, it's such a beautiful sight to see. So yes, very, you know, businesslike and going around the ring with the handler, that team look with the powerful driving rear and the correct reaching front is just a sight to see, and you will see it in every ring at Montgomery.
Yeah, and what's interesting about the wire fox terrier standard, that I don't know, it says this in any other standard, but you're all breed, so you might. It says um, bone and strength in a small compass, but it in the smooth standard it specifies that it wants the same amount of bone all the way down to the foot.
Mm-hmm. So again, they need to be, like in the smooth standard says, a cleverly built hunter standing over lots of ground. And when you do see if you look at the top line of the smooth and then you look at the underline of the smooth, you will see they stand over lots of ground. And when they move, that perfectly level top line, that driving rear, that pendulum moving front, it's a sight to see.
Yes, it sure is, and it says it specifies that they're stand like a cleverly made short-backed hunter, covering a lot of ground. It's and it's said a little bit differently in the smooth standard, but it's the same sentence, just the words are slightly different. And it doesn't say moving, but later in the standard it does talk about reach and drive and movement, but it's very specifically about how they are standing. And the way, you know, Richard and I talked about this a little bit before we started, because it is a sentence that every smooth fox terrier person that I know and wire fox terrier person I know talks about when they first talk about their breed. But when you ask people, they don't always know what it means or how to explain what it means. And it is hard to explain. But the way Richard said it, and I would explain it that, you know, your angles are more open on a fox terrier than they are on, say, a working breed. And so the legs are not as close together underneath the dog as they would be in, for example, working breed relative to its size. So I'd love to hear if anybody else has an addition or an explanation or an idea or a concept about that particular sentence in.
Another important component of your mentoring program, Lee, is, and my best advice for a lot of the novice terrier people going to Montgomery, seek out some of the rings where the great handlers are exhibiting the dogs. Gabriel, RC, Leonardo. Go watch how they show those dogs and the amount of confidence they exude right down the lead into their dogs. And look at some of their techniques. And, you know, you never want to be a bully in the ring and pick on other dogs to get your dog fired up. But watch how talented they are and how they do take advantage of every instance where their dogs can be fired up. I had one lady say, well, my dog is completely out of control. Well, if it's a young dog, let it be under control. Eventually, it will settle down. And a lot of discipline is not what your top terriers need in the ring. They need to be on their toes, ready for the fight at all times if they're going to be a Best in Show winner at Montgomery.
I can't, you know, I can't agree with you more, Richard. And Nikki says Cairns further apart. Yeah, because Cairns are built differently, short-legged category of terriers, so they are built.
We've had some great Cairn breeders in Canada, Betty Hislop as an example, and even a few in my province here in Ontario. And I can remember when I was exhibiting against them, I'd watch the Cairn ring because they were very feisty. It was to the point where, did the judge ever see the movement of the dogs? Because they were constantly twirling and wanting to get at each other and get into the whole, excitement of the day. But yes, they should, have some decorum and behavior in the ring, but don't be afraid to let them be a little wild at times.
As a judge, I feel the same way. I want to see them up on their toes and looking at whatever sparks them, and their eyes should be, varminty, and in most cases, dark, very dark. All right. So what other things on the terrier standards? Yeah, Nikki says 108 Cairns on Sunday. That's amazing. I know there's 70 something tomorrow. So what other aspects of the standards did you think about comparing, Richard? I know you talked about size a little bit.
Well, again, the three breeds we're comparing. The Lakey is obviously when you talk about height, withers to the ground, stands around 14 and a half, and the wire stands around 15 and a half, and the Welsh is somewhere in between at around 15 inches. So, if you did a side-by-side comparison, that's what you would see. But the most striking difference is that amazing elegance of the wire as compared to the beautiful beauty of a well-built Lakeland with their narrow build. They're a bit of an elegant dog also, but then you get that sturdy Welsh with the strong muscular neck, the heavier bone, just, three amazing breeds. And I fall into the trap of placing them way too much when I judge groups because, they are just such exciting breeds. Although I have had opportunity to put almost every breed of terrier up to a group for somewhere along the line. Yeah. Obviously, these three breeds do stand out in my mind.
So your breed, the Lakeland, the standard says that the movement is lithe and graceful. And it doesn't say that in the other standards. So what does that exactly mean to you?
Well, I think, that they still have strong, powerful rear drive and well-balanced fronts. It's just that when you use the word lithe in the comparison of what I said about the substance of each of the dogs, that Lakeland is fairly light on their feet and going around effortlessly. It's a picture.
So what would you say are the most important aspects of the Lakeland?
Well, obviously their form and function was to work in the Lakeland districts and Cumberland districts in England, and a lot of it was rocky with narrow crevices. That's why they're built narrow, to be able to get into those holes where a Welsh wouldn't be suited to work in that terrain. So you have to consider the form and function and the origins of where these dogs originated from. Just if you're a Lakeland breeder, Google Lake District, England, and you will see the rocky crevices and all of these different types of terrain that this well-built hunter was bred to function in. So a lot of how a dog is built is really based on their function and where they originated from.
So would you say that the narrow body, the squareness, the narrow body, the head, neck, and high set tail are the most important thing. But let's talk about color, because the Lakeland comes in many colors. And would you talk about that a little bit?
Well, obviously, as a judge, color should be irrelevant to you as long as they have good color. And do be aware, a lot of you novice people, that sometimes there's a bit of enhancement to the color. So even as a judge, you do need to work your way through the enhanced colors from time to time, and judge dogs on their merit and not solely on their color oftentimes. And just like Anne Rogers Clark used to say about poodles, if you don't like hairspray, don't judge poodles. And great terrier people say, if you don't like a bit of chalk, don't judge terriers.
So, but would you share with people because they may be driving, what colors the Lakeland comes in?
Well, they come obviously in the red grizzles. They come in blacks, they come in blues. So yes, they do come in a variety of color. And the nice thing about Montgomery is that you're going to see all of those colors.
Right,
And
exactly.
because we all see the traditional solid reds and the red grizzles predominantly, but at Montgomery you will see the other colors also.
Right. And so the Welsh and the Lakeland both could come with the golden tan with the saddle, right? Black saddle. And so there have been times when a judge who shall remain nameless might have pointed to one and called it the other. They may have pointed to with Welsh and said the Lakeland, or vice versa.
That would be a scary thought, because I mean, looking at a Welsh and looking at a Lakey, they're so totally different breeds. Obviously, predominantly a general statement would be that the Welsh carry a darker shade of tan than the Lakelands, where the Lakelands can be the color of straw all the way to a rich red. So, you shouldn't mix them up just on body shape
Just on
from
body shape
1,000 feet.
alone.
From 1,000 feet. So no, I wouldn't become a color judge if you're going to be judging Lakelands or Welsh. Color's important, but it's not everything.
Right. Pay
And
attention to breed type.
yes.
The robustness of a Welsh is not the litheness of a Lakeland.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't tell the difference, it's either a really bad Welsh or a really bad Lakeland.
Mm-hmm. And when you look at that overall, the big differences from 50 feet are the length of neck. Obviously, the Welsh has a slightly shorter, more muscular neck, and the Lakey has a little bit longer, more, refined kind of neck, but still muscular and strong.
I see Crystal's here. Welcome, Crystal from Canada. You can see that lightness of foot on a Lakeland when they slow down and free stack. And there should be an elegance there. The Welsh, for me, more comes to a harder stop to free stack, giving the feeling of power. That's really a great awareness to have, Crystal, and well said. Thank you. And
And
Nikki
Crystal
says,
has to compete in Canada against some pretty tough competition in Welsh with her good friend Larissa from British Columbia. So I know
Crystal,
that
are
those
you
two
on your
gals,
way?
they
Is she
have
on
a
her
ball in
way?
the ring, both of them.
Let us know if you're on your way. Nikki says, do you reward an uncolored dog with an excellent natural color? What do you think, Richard?
Of course. You bring a Lakeland in the color of straw and no enhancement, I appreciate that just as much, and maybe sometimes more, than one that I know that has been enhanced a bit too much for even my liking.
So what about the wire fox terrier in color?
Well, they should have that rich tan naturally, and the beautiful dark markings on the saddle, etc. And, it's nice when they have, beautiful, strong white with no black ticking in it. And, so color gets down to, it's an aesthetic thing. Maybe it's a subliminal thing. You're looking at two dogs and you can't figure out, why am I favoring this one ever so slightly over the other? That's when things like color may prey upon your mind when you make some of these subliminal decisions. And obviously, this dog's squarely built, moves well, and this dog's a little longer, and but sometimes the color tricks you, and you do have to be thinking about that.
Yeah, self-awareness is important when you're judging. So the wire and the smooth standard both say white should predominate, right? So what if you have a wire fox terrier that white is not predominating? What do you think of that?
Well, it would end up very low in the ribbons. I'm not sure what the exact verbiage is in the wire about the predominance of white, but I can remember the name 1/3 sticking out of my head somewhere. No, it doesn't say it that way, but in some of the seminars I've been to, yes, white must predominate.
Yeah.
And when you have a, too heavy a dog with the saddle going too far down and into the chest, and, spreading out along the whole top line of the dog, it's not as, you just know right away when you look at the dog, what's wrong with that dog? And when you analyze it, it's going to get down to color.
So we have been having such good time that we're out of time. So we're going to put links in the chat for you to become a dog show mentor, owner handler Facebook member if you're not already. Richard is a member. He graced us with his presence. We're going to put in the chat application for our mastery, which is starting very soon. So make sure you get your application in. And hey, Bridget, she shows Wells. They are sturdy little terriers. Yes, they are. And we're going to put in the link for our premium program, which is, let's say, we've been doing it for long enough that we've got the proof. So we're really happy with our members and what our program provides. Richard, I can't thank you enough for coming. Is there anything you'd like to add before we close?
Well, if you're going to Montgomery this weekend, it's the greatest terrier show on earth. And I find myself jumping from ring to ring, trying to time it so I get there just 5 or so minutes before the breed, because that's when all the top dogs are starting to mingle and look at each other and get up on their toes, and the real show begins.
I know that I take a pen to my my judging program and keep times as if I were a handler showing dogs myself, to go from ring to make sure that I see as many of the breeds that I want to as possible. And even though sometimes I can't see all of them, I can at least see ones that are really important to me. I can't wait to get to the Irish Terrier ring, to be honest, as well as the wires, the Lakeland and the Welsh. Thank you, Brian. Thanks for being here. Yeah. And I hope that someday you'll come to Montgomery County and I'll get to see you there. So this is Lee Whittier with Richard Paquette. Thank you so much again, and see you in the winner's circle. Bye, everybody. And the Karens, I'll be at the Karen ring. That's the first ring I'm going to be at. All right. Karen's
Enjoy, everyone.
Karen's are on at 8 o'clock every morning, or 8:30 every morning. So that's going to be an early morning, but it's going to be fun and exciting. Come and watch all those Karens. It's going to be hours and hours of judging.